ANOVA. ANOVA is a procedure that may be used to compare means between several samples and of very different profiles. So we can compare via ANOVA this means from full professors, associate professors, and students, and etc. from many departments like psychology, business, and etc. So the ANOVA test, when you perform this test, really says this mean is different from this other, or this mean is equal, statistically speaking, to that other mean. They usually put letters to show which means are equal and which means are different. In this table, it did not show up. I don't know why the guy wrote this. The girls wrote this way. The authors are 3 women writing about IT. Okay. So, for full professors, assistant professors, and graduate students, there was no difference in the IT across departments. People from human and sociology areas that were not very fond of IT just used the computers as a tool, and people from math and computing were using computers as almost a lifestyle, not just as tools. Okay, another ANOVA. Okay. So, as it was expected, the professors had more experience in IT than the students at that time. Today, it may be a little different because people are getting in touch with IT very, very young. I think my daughter knew how to put a galinha pintadinha in YouTube sooner than she was able to speak. But it's very common today to this to happen. Responses to okay, 3 general things. They said that the quality of the finished paper with the IT utilization was better. The efficiency is another feature that is perceived in IT use. But in another point of the text, I don't remember which point, they said that when they were not very used to IT utilization, they lost the work many times. So the IT utilization, until we get used to that, we can have a little trouble saving and losing the work. Some students and some professors said that they preferred to read papers and literature they had to use in hard copy, in paper, printed paper. Okay, because It's easier on the eyes. It's more portable. Like a student I supervise said that she likes to carry the papers that she has to read to the doctor, to any place that she knows that she's going to wait a little. So she reads the papers in the hard copy version at that site. Okay. The disadvantages of the laptops at that time, that it was found that they weighed too much to carry around. Sometimes there was constraints in the monitors at 2002. The crashes at the 298 page. I had major crashes that wiped out hours of work. It's a comment from a person that is not very used to work with IT. The monitor thing, that people from the hard sciences use bigger monitors than people from the human sciences. It was very disgusting to read this, that women were uncomfortable to use IT more than men were using IT. I don't know why this was happening. Fortunately, today we have half the people from the IT courses are female, so I don't think this is, if this research were made today, I don't think this was going to be a problem. Okay. Another common sense feature is that when you increase the academic level, increases with it the experience to use the IT to write papers. So the older professors and the very beginning undergraduates were saying that it's easier to work with hard copies, and the younger professors and the senior undergraduates were more used to work with IT versions of the papers. Okay. So for this paper, this is all. This paper is a little atypical because the authors put the interview plot, the questionnaire here, after the paper as an appendix. This is not very common because of the size restrictions of the papers. It's more common to find interview plots and questionnaires in dissertations and doctor theses than in the papers that we read around. Okay, next paper. Just to relax a little, I think it's good to us to go to that soup paper. The author is a Chinese woman who compares cooking soup to write papers. So she believes that it's just as difficult to write a good paper as is to cook a good soup there in China. Because there in China, the author says that the housewife is evaluated by the capacity to cook. So, and we as researchers are evaluated by the capacity of writing good papers. So this is the statement of the article. The personal experience here, I'm gonna go through a little more quicker. So we go directly to the part that she compares both the tasks of cooking soup and write papers. Okay, gender. This part, 4th page, she was talking about her experience as a mother and housewife. And how the tasks at home were used to demonstrate affection for the family, and were evaluated by the society and family to show that she was good at that skills. Okay. So she thought that to be a perfect housewife was cooking was achieved by cooking the perfect soup. And in the academical area, she thought that to become the perfect researcher, she had to write the perfect paper. So she was trying to collect as many techniques as possible to write good papers, just as she was doing collecting recipes to cook the perfect soup. Okay. This is when she started to be the doctor's student. Okay. She tells also that the family starts to complain that she's not gonna be good to her family anymore because she is working, because she's student, and many of us listen to that kind of complaint too. Okay. She says a little about the importance of participating in conferences, because when we participate in conference, we see the current discourse in our area, in our theme. So if your budget permits and your family condition permits, like if you can leave your children or your partner with someone, or etc., you can participate on conference to see what is happening in your subject theme. So you have to learn how to write, reading good papers. So one thing that I agree very much with her is that each paper, each text that we write, it seems that we are rewriting, reconstructing ourselves, because every time you have to write a paper, you have to know very much more content and many more things that you didn't know before, and then you have to systematize that all that content in intelligible manner to write, in order to write that paper. So every time you write a paper, it's like you become more aware of who you really are, what are your positions about many subjects and things that you are in contact. So every time you write a paper, you're not just writing a paper. You are writing in a way yourself too. Okay. So there is very much pressure when you become a researcher to balance the professional and the family and personal life. In another article or paper from this class, they say that the research profession is the most unbalanced in terms of work and family life. So the pressures come from everywhere, and we have to deal with that in the best way possible. Okay. So this paper, the author thinks it's important because it's the women subject voice of how to build knowledge, how to balance personal and work life, and to deconstruct the artificial split between the common sense and the academical world. Okay, and it's that. Okay. Next paper. I forgot to open that with the Linux viewer that allows full screen. Okay. So these advices are from the editor of a management journal, and we are going to see that his advices are very similar to that guy from the medicine area. You can see that good research is good research in every area. The advices are very similar. So, okay. The author says that there are good papers that are not evaluated positively because they don't have the requisites of the journal to publish. So there is good research, there is good text, but it's not in the format, in the manner that the journal needs to be. So these are advices to accomplish this format that the journal needs. Not just his journal, but many journals in the international community. Okay. So one mistake is to pick a very general theme in the business subject area. So it's going to be easier to publish if you pick a more focused theme. So another advice is to avoid making statements or prescriptive statements about how a businessman or a CEO has to do things, because the emphasis on the academic journals is to build theory, not to build prescriptions to CEOs and people alike. Okay. These how-to papers are very likely to be rejected. Okay. And these authors, Eisenhardt, Smith and Heath, Surenstall, Whedon, and others, are some tips to read papers that do this meta-theoric task of how to write good text, how to pick good themes, and so on. So these 1, 2, 3, 4 papers are about this. It's just like that Umberto Eco's book, How to Write a Good Thesis. Okay, this is kind of a meta-theoric text. So, okay, over. Communicating science. This one appears to be big, but it's only 4 pages long because the others are the summary. So this is about how to communicate science. Okay. So last class we used the metaphor that writing papers is like doing patchwork, like I don't know how to say that, like a cover to put in your bed and anything, a patchwork cover. But the papers bring the knowledge that is not yours and that you have to put in your own language. But the sewing that is made between the patches is entirely yours. So the thing that makes that paper yours, besides of the using of other people's knowledge, is the sewing and the language that you put that knowledge inside your own language. Okay. So this is kind of a tip to write in a good way. You have to be accurate and audience adapted. So if you are writing to the community in general, you have to have a language that is more simple, and you have to try to avoid commission errors. There are 2 kind of errors that can be committed, like commission and omission. Commission is to cite wrongly one source, and omission is to not cite the source and put the idea as it was your idea. Okay, brief. You don't have to be long to write about your idea. If you can write it shortly, inside the number of pages of the paper to that journal, it's better. You have to be clear. You don't have to be obnoxious and try to spiralize your text, like we see in Habermas, for example. And Thomas Snanek is like that too. You read a paragraph, you are sucked into a spiral of words, and you don't know how you are going to go out to that spiral of words. In each paragraph, I felt that way. Okay. The other tip: science is international, so you have to write in a language that is widely spoken in the academical community, and preferably you have to write it in English. So when you are going to search for articles, for papers, to do your own research, you are going to make the search in the periódicos CAPES that I already said. And you can see that even when the paper is written in Spanish or in some Slavic language like Estonian and etc., or Turkish in other continents, there are always abstracts in English to that paper. So the abstracts serve to get the world aware of what that author or authors are talking about. So even when the paper is not written in English, always there is an abstract that make the paper available to everybody in the world. So I remember of reading articles or papers in language that I don't speak via translator or anything, just because the content was very useful, very interesting. Like I don't know who can speak Turkish, but I know that I don't know how to speak Turkish, so via translator sometimes we have to accomplish to read Turkish or Estonian or Hungarian or Russian or any language that has content and knowledge that we can find useful to our own research. In the gender subject, it's very useful to get in contact with these other papers in other languages, because there are in the sites many more situations of women's rights violations than there are in widely spoken in countries of widely spoken language. Okay. In the methodology classes last semester, I said that it was important to ask always the 5W and 1H questions to know which questions you needed to address when summarizing your texts, your papers, and when writing or categorizing for your writing. So these questions are here too. So the context here is a little different. So the author here is addressing the whole question is good for watching who are going to read your text, not who are the main authors of your theme, like I said last semester. The why question here is in another context. Why your message is important and why you are communicating that message. and what you want your reader to take home from your paper or your thesis or your dissertation. And the how is how you can best write to your audience, because if your audience is more technician, is more aware of the themes and the literature in your area, you have to talk in an upper language. But if your audience is constituted of some CEOs or etc. that are not aware of the literature of the area, you have to lower the language to their knowledge level. Okay. So this diagram is showing the differences between a scientific paper in an academic journal and the science article in a popular journal like Super Interessante and etc. Okay. So this diagram has many sections that are common in the papers. It's like they are similar from the paper of the medical guy. And it's over. Okay. There are 2 papers left. This paper is about how to not commit plagiarism. So Control C and Control V, everybody knows what it is. So you can use these commands to summarize text, but not to write papers, to make that files of your texts, just like people from journalism do. Okay. So this is a good definition of plagiarism. I'm gonna put it bigger so everybody can read. Okay. Plagiarism is defined as the practice of claiming or implying original authorship or incorporating material from someone else's reading or creative work, in whole or in part, into one's own without adequate acknowledgement. Just like Melania did in that speech. You remember Melania Trump? She committed plagiarism with a speech from Michelle Obama. You all remember that or no? Okay. So okay. So the politics from this journal is to reject a paper that is committing plagiarism in any way. So the paper can be good, but if plagiarize one piece of text and does not cite the author, this one piece of text is going to make the paper rejected. So many journals are using this politics. So I remember I told you a software that detects plagiarism, Copy Spider. Everybody download that?